Hey, no, I don't just have a beer for bad movies. This is a movie from Doug Stanhope, my favorite comedian, playing an alcoholic comedian. So, of course, I need a beer for it. Let's get into it. So, yeah, The Road Dog, it was written and directed, I believe, by the same guy that did Meet the Parents. Like Stanhope said, his appearance in a Louis special where he played, alcoholic comedian that's getting beat up by the road. He had to hire an acting coach and do ride-alongs to learn the part. What I'm trying to say is Stanhope is very good in this movie. He's great. He's on camera a lot. He's funny. He's great at the drama scenes, which really impressed me. He's not Eddie this time. Very similar character. This time he is playing Jimmy Quinn. Just got done with a gig and he's all hungover, and this guy shows up and says he's his son, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I had one of those." We've all been there. His son wants to become a comedian, and the guy that plays his son, I looked at IMDb. I don't think he's been in anything, but he was very good because Stanhope is the beaten down by the road and in the business, and his son wants to become a comedian and wants to get into it, very optimistic. So they're like two-way different parts of their lives. It's like a road trip movie, and it's got good comedy in it, but it's also got a lot of definitely moments where it kind of makes them closer and appreciate each other more and understand each other. They have an understanding and kind of develop a relationship. It builds over time too. They pace that out really well. What makes this film like really really work too, a lot of it was written not necessarily Stanhope in mind, but he's like the perfect comedian for it because he lived through this. Like, I've read his books, been on the road. He's been doing this a long time, and it's almost like a documentary of that because, I mean, comedy clubs are closing everywhere. If you're not like the top, you're either like barely scraping by, or you make up a fan base and survive off of that. Another thing I appreciate about this movie is Jimmy does stand up every night, gets drunk after, and I appreciated that they used some of Stanhope's old bits. They definitely used a couple from Deadbeat Hero, which is one of my favorites. I think there was a joke or two from Something to Take the Edge Off. So if you're a fan, you could definitely appreciate those nods. But the thing with Jimmy is he had opportunity with fame. Some say he was afraid of it. Some say he was kind of jealous of people. You kind of see that even his own son does like a really good set for his like first set, and he opens for him. You think he'd be a proud moment, but you can just see there's like he's envious of doing so well. Jimmy's kind of known as a legend, comedian's comedian, if you will. Doesn't necessarily maybe get what his son's trying to do, but he does kind of come around on it. And it's a very up and down movie where like Jimmy's got a lot of issues and he tries to confront them, but can he overcome them? I'm not going to spoil the movie for you because I definitely say check it out. Stanhope, again, I got to say he was definitely impressive with his acting, and the story of this movie and what Stanhope brings to the table is what really makes this movie worth watching. I also appreciate that you meet a lot of Jimmy's friends and fellow comedians, and they all went different directions. Some made it big, some he doesn't really talk to, some are just struggling to get by like him. Some are dead. I think this movie is really about, and it says it in the title, is about, you can always change, or if it's too late for someone to change. And this really tackles that really well. I think it shows the struggle really well. Not a perfect movie, but it was really, really good. Surprised how long it kept me engaged. It's a 2-hour movie, and nowadays it's got to be pretty good to keep you interested after an hour and a half. Just wait. I'm gonna give it 4 beers out of 5. Actually, 4.5. We'll give it 4.5. Like Joe Bob says, check it out. And I just have to say, after reading Stanhope's books, after following his career for probably since early 2000s, so 20 years, really enjoyed this. Really liked seeing it, and kind of sad that I'm sure the comedy scene's so much different than it was in the 80s and 90s. I wouldn't know. I was too young. Little bar that I used to play at near where I live, a little bit far from me, but it was called Valentine's, and I think he was one of the last shows there. Unfortunately, it got closed down. Now, whenever he comes here, he does his comedy show at the Funny Bone, which is in a mall, which it's always kind of interesting to see him out of his element performing in a mall. It's always a good time. If you get a chance, check the movie out. If Stanhope's coming near you, definitely check him out. He's always great. My name's Thor, and this is why I drink. Oh no, that's not the one he uses in this movie. He uses the other one. You watch the movie and you'll see it. Anyway, Thor out. Have a good one.